What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the High Tech Redneck. Today is part 2 of the snow dog build. So in episode 1 we just stripped it clean. Hard to go into any real detail just because you're removing things that you don't want. Pretty self-explanatory. Obviously you're going to want some tools of destruction like a sawzall, your drills, grinders, etc. But today's video is going to contain starting to build this thing back up. So as you can see, I got it sitting more level than what it was. All I did was take a ratchet strap and strapped the rear end down. You see the ratchet strap there. Just tightened it up. Got it as close to level as I'm gonna get it. Got the back bumper off. Got some more paint to grind off. The motor's just sitting there. I don't have anything mounted up. I was gonna put a whole rail of square stock all the way around this thing, but I decided to not do that. I think I'm just gonna put eyelets, 3 or 4 down either side, and then I think a motorcycle cargo net, something of that sort would work great, you know, just to slap your tackle boxes and other gear. Off camera I went ahead and drilled these holes. That's the bolt and washer combination that I'm using for my handlebars. They're fairly stout. Now you can go ahead and just push it through and bolt your handlebars on like this. I'm gonna actually weld that washer and this bolt all together, so it's a little bit easier to get the handlebars on and off without losing your bolt. Motor mounts, just using this square stock like I showed before. It needs to be cleaned up. It's been sitting outside for years. Nonetheless, we're going to weld this square stock directly to the tunnel, front and rear. We're going to have to check that, you know, with a square. Make sure your motor mounts are square to your chain case. A lot of people use a flat piece of plate that they have slits cut out in them, so you have adjustability with your motor front and rear. I don't really worry about it. Once it's in place, it's in place. I will be putting a chain tensioner in between the chain case sprocket and the CVT sprocket back here. Gotta have one nonetheless, so that seems to work fine for me. If you want to go ahead and get the plate, I will do my best and link the plate down below. Went to Tractor Supply this morning and got a 7/8 sprocket collar with keyway. Let me see here. Of course, this camera just doesn't want to focus. Well, take my word for it. It's a 7/8 inch shaft, and you put your keyway in there and space it out, and then nut, bolt, and washer it. Happy part about that is that you got to weld your own sprocket on, and unfortunately I bought the wrong one. Yeah, so I gotta find a different sprocket to weld on that. You can also go this route. This one was too big. This is an 1.25" shaft. A little too big for what I'm doing. Alright, so brought my handlebar set up back here to the welder and weld my handlebars together. Started out with this. I cut these lobes off, left it square, and then I took the bumper that I took off the snowmobile and I fit them down inside of these two and cut this in half. Cut it here, put a spacer in between, which I'm going to be welding in, and then the bumper goes like this. Worked perfect for a set of handlebars. We'll weld that all together, and then we should be able to mount them to the snow dump. This just happens to be 16 inches wide, so we'll go with that. We got our handlebars welded and on. Bolted on. My camera would ever cooperate. What I did was pinch this close, and then I'm just gonna tack this together. I'm not doing it now. This is just the first run. Dry fit everything. Then here I'm gonna put one motor mount here, and then I'll measure up, put another one up here. What's up there, chicken man?
I don't know.
Three days later.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the High Tech Redneck. Before I get started with the rest of this video, just want to give a huge shout out to all y'all. 100 subscribers the other day. That's awesome. We're up to like 105 now, so keep them on coming. More subscribers, more content, etc, etc. If you guys got any ideas for future videos, something that you would like to see, drop it in the comments below. And again, thank you very much. So back to part 2 here. off camera, I started doing a little bit more welding. And of course my camera just doesn't want to work properly. Oh, there we go. So I'm adding these bars all the way across. This tunnel is fairly weak, so I'm reinforcing it all the way across, so there's absolutely no flex in the chassis when the motor engages and disengages. Wasn't terrible before by any means, but I'm sure with a load behind it, it's not going to be good. So nonetheless, adding those in. Then what we're going to do here is build a chain tensioner out of this square stock and this L bracket. Come up like so and drill a hole up top there. Obviously we'll cut this down a little bit, clean it up, but drill a hole through the top and put a tensioner wheel on the top part of that chain, and then a spring off from our lever to put tension on that chain. Yeah. Simple pimple. Again, this is a budget build. Looking at maybe 300 pounds. If you have a hitch receiver on the back of your pickup truck, you see in the front here, you push down on your handlebars, lift the front end up, and it'll walk right up on one of those hitch receiver transport cargo racks for the back of your vehicle. So it's not taking up room anywhere inside the vehicle or inside your pickup truck to you know, take up that space that you put your shanty and all your other gear in. Anyhow, I'm gonna get to welding this all up. You don't have to have a welder. You can use nuts, bolts, and washers to bolt all these things together. The handlebars, I don't know, you could bolt them together, but if you have access to a welder, I'd weld them, definitely, or have a friend that has a welder. Just set up your handlebars and ask if they'll weld it up for you. What I'm going to do here is just, I'm going to take my vice grips and set this on there like so. Just trying to get this bracket put onto the tunnel. So there it is. This here is our budget build. Probably got about 175, maybe 200 bucks in it. Again, don't be afraid to ask around for, if you see an old snowmobile sitting in the weeds, don't be afraid to go ask for it. You never know, you might just get one for free. The motors are relatively easy to come by, Harbor Freight. I think they're 150 bucks, and if you get the coupon, I think they're as low as 120 bucks. All the square stock, different various pieces of metal, the springs, the nuts, the bolts, things of that nature, I had laying around here at the house, so they didn't cost me anything. Torque converter, that was 75 bucks, 30 series torque converter that fits on 6.5 horse. I believe if you go to an 8 horse or bigger, it's you gotta have the 40 series clutch, which is an inch or 3/4 inch diameter shaft out of the motor. Sprocket, that was another 25 bucks shipped to the house. Still waiting for the damn throttle cable. That was 12 or 15 bucks, also Amazon. Other than that, yeah, just a little bit of time, maybe 3-4 hours. I did weld a lot of my stuff. You don't have to. If you don't have access to a welder, you can nut and bolt everything together. That works just as well. As you've seen in part 1, and if you haven't, go check that out. But in part 1, I show how to strip this thing. Real simple. Gotta have a few tools of destruction. A Sawzall, a grinding utensil, for a cutoff wheel. And you just zip everything off. I unbolted the rear bumper and repurposed that. Right there it is. And I put that into the square stock and welded it all together. Make it fit as a set of handlebars. Again, real simple. There's just nuts in there with a bolt that comes out this way, and tighten them up. There you go, you got a set of handlebars. Last night I riveted these hooks on for your bungees. Just use square stock as my motor mount. Nothing special. I know, again, I'm probably repeating myself, but they sell plates so you can adjust the chain tension with the engine. I didn't do it that way. It's just directly mounted to the tub or chassis, however the hell you want to call it. I left the stock chain case, and in this case it happens to be a chain case that is on the left hand side, so there was no need to take a sprocket and run it to a jack shaft. It just goes straight to the chain case. I'm using a 24 tooth and a 12 tooth on the driven pulley. The 24 tooth is on the chain case. Simple chain tensioning device. Found a big spring laying around. I took some of the square stock and a bearing. Simple, real simple. And I attach that to that L bracket. It's not super tight. I left that a little bit loose so it has play in it. Again, there's nothing special about this thing. It is on top of that black bar. We're gonna have an auger rack, so the auger will sit there, and a headlight in the front. Went through, I put a hood on this one. Kind of thought that was pretty neat. Threw a bunch of stickers on there. And this is just a snowblower engine, 12 horse Tecumseh. No real big modifications, just put a clip with a screw through the butterfly flap and ran that down. You gotta give yourself enough slack that you can fold your handlebars up. You can see this one here, instead of going from this clutch directly to a chain case like that one, I ran straight down with a chain to the jack shaft. So I cut a hole out in the tunnel to fit that, and that runs over into the chain case over here, and then that gives you your drive. So again, really not that big of a difference, but those are the two things that are gonna differentiate any snowmobiles. A lot of guys asking, will this snowmobile work, will that snowmobile work? Well, they're all pretty much the damn same, other than the fact that some snowmobiles may be longer if it's a touring snowmobile, and if it's longer, it's probably going to be a little bit harder to turn. But I've seen guys doing it, and they say that it works, so no reason not to try it. There also be tracks that are a little bit wider than others, like that chassis is wider than this chassis. Not by much, but it is. Nonetheless, there it is.